Hello everybody. Right, okay, so I've done quite a lot of that and it's not looking too bad, but I'm struggling a bit in getting the surface smooth because on the end of there it is a ball. Now I've tried using that one, it's not quite worked. So I think I'm just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way with get a bit of sandpaper. My back. Now I will admit this has taken quite a bit longer than I was hoping. But at the same time, it's been very interesting because I have learned a couple of things while I've been doing this. One being that sorry, I'll just get the sanding sheet out. One thing I've learned is that when it comes to the slightly tougher grain, it has a tendency to move the Dremel. So there's been a few occasions where I've kind of gone out of the pattern a bit. I'm covered as well in fucking sawdust. Yes, there's quite a few places where I unfortunately went out of the pattern a bit because of the tougher grain, but I've worked around it, and as I realised that and learned that, I was able to preempt it and sort of try and, like for example, as I was going around the number 2, going around the edge, I was going around the edge fine, but then when I got to these 2 thicker grains, if I'd have just kept going, which I did do, it fucking moved it higher up. You see, it's not quite a smooth corner. So what I ended up having to do was focus on those 2 strips and dig that away a bit so that I could then go around, and that's what I was able to do over the majority of it. And I've spent a lot of time taking out quite a lot of wood from in there, but also I did spend a lot of time trying to play about with different techniques to smooth it off as much as I could. And to be fair, there was one thing that I kind of figured out. I mean, obviously with this being a ball on the end and it has got blades, the blades work in a particular way. Now as I was moving it from my right to my left, it's very good at digging deeper without using any force. To the right, a little less so. So I was able to go to the right a bit for a slightly gentler sand. But I also noticed that if I went more horizontal, then yes, it's still a ball, but it's a much more uniformed thing. So I was able to do quite a bit of smoothing with that. I tried going across the grain to smooth over all the ridges. Didn't work. It ended up basically just digging deeper holes in the end and didn't smoothen it out. So I think, to be honest, I'm just going to need to get some, as I mentioned, now I've only got the round sandpaper sheets at the moment, so I'm just going to cut one up. So I might as well pop this back onto looking at these. So I've got the round ones, so I'm just going to cut them up and just see if I can actually do anything within it. I mean, I don't need it to be perfect for this project, but I would still like it to be smooth, but also for learning about future things, to be handy to know. Now, to be honest, there is probably one of the bits somewhere, maybe one that I haven't got, that would do this much better. I'm sure I've seen the conical sanding things, but to be fair, I was quite surprised at how expensive the Dremel bits were. Now this is a 240 grit sandpaper. I mean, one thing I will say is, having used this Dremel, it's actually sort of reignited my desire to get the headset thing done, because I think that will fucking work wonders on that, to be honest. Now this is smoothing over the rough edges a bit, which is handy. It's not going to get it perfect, but just a bit smoother, because one of the things I don't want as well is, I don't really want places where air pockets can appear. But one thing I remembered I'm going to have to do with this, because this is pretty sort of cheapish wood, and to be honest, I'd probably do it on everything I do. Will need coating with clear resin first, so that the colour doesn't seep into the wood. So what I'm going to try and do today, am I going to do the resin bit? I don't know, maybe later, we'll see, because obviously, excuse me, I'm going to have some waste, and although I've got obviously plans I've got to do with the waste, if I'm going to incorporate anything into that, like the names and the stickers or little bits of wood or colour, then I've got to basically prepare that. It's not bad. It ain't perfect, but it's smoother. Like I say, I don't need it to be perfect on this, but I may have to have a look at the Dremel accessory kit or something like that. But yeah, so I was saying that I didn't want air bubbles to be able to gather anywhere, and obviously the more the rougher the surface is, the more possibility for air bubbles, but putting clear coat in it first should help that massively. But I'm not planning on pouring that in, I'm only planning on sort of brushing it over to give it a light coating. I'm going to need to clean this out as well. But I've got to say, I was very pleased with the Dremel. I was quite happily, I mean, this is killing my hands doing this, but when I was working with the Dremel, it was a lot less painful. Yeah. Now, one thing I was thinking with this is, there's two reasons why I've used this piece of wood. One is it's big enough. Two, it's a scrap piece of wood. And three, if it turns out that this fucking works perfectly, then I may not need to do it a second time. Instead of having this as a test piece, this could actually be the one I use. Now, what was I going to say? There was something I was going to say. Yeah, that's right. Because it was taking quite a long time to get to the point that I have done, it did make me think maybe doing it twice, I mean, it's still going to take as long, but we'll see how this looks afterwards. Because really, well, you see, really, if I was going to use this, I want to chop that end off and the top off. And potentially use another piece of wood, because this has already got screw holes. I've got the one that's going to be a post, right? The one's going to be a post, and obviously it wouldn't go on. But I've got another piece of wood, a couple more pieces of wood that are basically the same as this, that I can use to make a cross piece, and I could perhaps actually practice doing a cut-out joint. But anyway, yeah, we're interested to see what we come up with that. So this is also the whole thing is gonna need a sanding as well. Excuse me. So I think, to be honest, because I've done quite a lot today, and by the sounds of it, I fucking should. I've done quite a lot today, so I think I might leave it there for now. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Ooh. Screw that tired. Just thinking, I could do with sanding the front face. If I sand the front face, and then I can put because the resin takes so long to dry and harden, it's so fucking awkward. As brilliant as it is, it's awkward to plan ahead. Because even putting a little clear coat on this, I'm going to need to leave it to harden, which is going to take 24 hours. Okay, I'm going to take a break for a bit. Maybe me done for today, but we'll see, because I need to work out what I'm going to do. I think off the top of my head, bare minimum, sand the front, mix the resin, put a clear coat on. Then I'm going to have clear resin left over. Now I can practice. I can try using some of the coaster moulds, because I've not tried them yet. And perhaps try some of the blue colour. I do want to use the blue colour to see what effect it gives. So yeah, that may be the way we go. So, but at bare minimum, I'll say sand the front of this, which I'm not going to use a power sander, because I think I've made enough mess in here today. And yeah, either way, I mean, I did say earlier that on one of the other videos that even though that's curved, it should be alright, but I'm actually thinking if I just fucking cut it off, I can use the jigsaw and cut that off, and then I can put a mould around it for putting, well, not necessarily for putting the black, the black resin in there, more for the clear, because I've tried to carve this in such a way that it shouldn't have any problems leveling out compared to the previous piece I'd done. This is very wide and open, so hopefully a pour into this should be much easier to do, much better with the colour, and then once that's done and up to a height I'm happy with, because the idea with that would be that I could just literally get the tub and pour the resin into, and just let the resin spread out, and then just keep topping it up, rather than with the other thing where I had to use the syringe because of the smallness of it. But obviously once that is sealed and that's dried and that's hardened, I'm going to want to put a clear coat on of resin over the whole thing, which is what I wanted to do on the other one. And to get that, that's where I want the shit. It's not where I want the shit, but that's where I want the border. I've just realised this has got fucking screw holes in it. And the resin would go through there. And if I fill the screw holes, I mean, maybe that's what I should do, fill the screw holes. If I filled the screw holes with dowels and ignored those screw holes, I can make my own screw holes later, top and bottom, if it needs them. Or I go with perfect level black resin application and no clear, but it's not a flat piece of wood, so the black won't go flat, potentially. Okay. I'm going to have to think about that. It'd be no hardship filling the holes. I do want to test the border system as well. See, maybe I could put some dowels in the holes, but not actually glue them in. If it was just a tight fit, it wouldn't let any resin through, and I could knock them out afterwards. That's not a bad idea. Let's have a look. Oh. Not that I really should put them in now, because they'll be in the way for sanding. Ow! Oh. Yeah. Okay, there is a couple of other holes there that need filling. There's one in the number 2 that needs filling. You bastard. But yeah, I could put the dowels in and then I could knock them out afterwards. I might try that. Okay. Looking at this though, I'm gonna need to. It's always something. I'm gonna need to fill this fucking hole in this number 2 that I hadn't really realised was there. Bastard. Once I've done that, I'm then going to have to let that dry, because I'm going to have to use, what am I going to use? There's no point using resin on it, it will go straight through the hole. So it's going to have to be glue and sawdust, I think. Or, I wonder if I could really cheat. Use glue and sawdust. Not a bad idea though. The thing is, it is to be a pain to chop down and then sand down in position. To be alright if it was on the level, but because it's within the groove, it could be a bitch. Right. Well, I suppose I could try my hot glue gun. That's not a bad idea. Right, okay. So I'm going to end up testing my hot glue gun to fill a tiny fucking hole. Okay, so any steps further forward is now becoming a little more complex, which is why I'm going to need to take a step back, work out what needs doing when, and then when I'm going to do it. So I'm going to try not to sneeze, and I'll take a break there. I'll see you in a bit.